All right. This is another video, and this time it's a video that I want to minimize the amount of time I'm speaking and use the testimonies to put things back in perspective. You know, this is my second try to make this video, and it's funny how like when the first one is not doing well or something happens where maybe my microphone is not working well, they try to like make me nervous or agitate me, but it's okay. I don't mind taking my time and making another video because I understand the importance of making video. It actually gives me a try to slow down and speak a little bit calmly because they try to agitate you. And in this video, I just really want to talk about how they like to keep saying there is. It's you. We've been analyzing. We solved it. Some of my colleagues or coworkers, they involve themselves in obviously. And the funny part is some of them like, oh, we just solved it. I'm like, wow, they needed your expertise, right? Your research expertise. They create these narrations and storylines, right? And the same people who are telling you you're going to be framed are telling you, oh no, this true high school. Would you, there's moments where in my memories they have the ability to create their own storyline. Right now, they even stimulate me talking about it. But for example, I've made a video testimony how they were trying to make me imagine me with somebody I was with in Canada, try to make me imagine them to be underage because she's like in her mid to early 20s, which I was too, and so they can create an imagination of that sort of voice, right? They make noise campaign. This is the same people who tell me they're gonna frame me, tell me this, right? But the reason why I'll never subscribe to this nastiness is because what they've done to me has been done systematically to others. I hear some when I was trying to make the first video, before I found out that my microphone wasn't working. You hear this person say, "I'm a teacher. Believe me, because I'm a teacher." Do you know how little it would take? Like this facade at this point, I understand it. Of course, there's teachers involved. There's people like they come here, they do this. I don't know. Some of them is part, on the side they do this. All aspect of society, this thing is involved. It's like, listen to me. I teach kids, so you should believe me. You teach kids, but you become almost damn near illogical. They work day in and day out to force me to experience these disturbing stimulations, thoughts, manipulations, day in and day out, conditioning me. And they're like, oh no, you're just our dog. You understand? So these people are trash that the government recruits, that the government contracts. This benefit of some sort. I don't know if it's just financial or others, but they work for these entities that experiment on human beings. But when it comes to this pedophilia type of tormenting, there is so much that there's no way to escape reality. And I'm here to make this video about this. So I'm gonna be quiet a little bit and let others speak. I've already made some videos with those testimonies, so I'm gonna be specific to why this pedophilia type of torture is something I'll never subscribe to, and I know this is what they do. Listen, and let's start with the first one. You probably heard all of them before, but I want to make a video that is specifically for that. And I'll call this video "There Is, There Are, and They Do This." So, starting over the first testimony. So sad.
I really mean extreme. I experienced an entire night with forced spontaneous orgasms repeatedly all through the night, one right after another, with maybe around 1 hour of sleep or so, as I lay immobilized in my bed in complete fear. This experience, along with the brain being microwaved and along with some internet research, is what made me put the puzzle pieces together to realize that I was experiencing remote external manipulation via electronic weapons, because these symptoms of sexual assault were not physiologically normal or possible without external manipulation. It is not physiologically normal to just have repeated spontaneous orgasms all through the night like that, literally one right after another. And then it all made sense when I learned about microwave weapons. In 2015, I began to experience what some call V2K, or voice to skull. This involves the projection of voices, noises, and music directly into my mind to communicate with me in real time and at the speed of thought. And it also includes the manipulation of thoughts, emotions, and perceptions in the person's mind. Additionally, the targeting is all highly perverted and sexual, as well as destructive and violent. Recently, they even started
Perceptions that are manipulated by these people. So when I look at kids and they force me to have this perception of sexuality, this is nothing new. That's what they do. This is what they do. And I'm talking about kids that you know they're kids. So there is those things, those manipulation. Of course they know that. They call this being a war. Their war consists of forcing you to accept these things. They use childlike people who damn near have to make themselves retarded. I'm sorry for the language. For you to accept this nonsensicalness that you know it's not you. You know you're not being yourself anymore. Something's happening. You're perceiving, you're reacting in different ways. Because there is these tactics they've been doing for years. But it doesn't end there. In the next, you hear about the dream manipulation. I talked about it. I talked about how they forced me to have this dream, these quote unquote teachers, and what it, doing, watching me and looking at it. These dreams where they force me to have disturbing dreams and use dreams in different disgusting ways where quote unquote they're just solving, they're analyzing. Listen to this.
They also often force vaginal discharges and zap my genitals at the same time. These sexual assaults are present throughout the day, every day, and anytime I am awakened at night, every night. They range from mild to extreme, but usually involve daily and nightly continuous assaults for the past 3 years now. When severe, the zaps to the genitals feel as though someone is electrocuting my genitals repeatedly. I also often see highly disturbing pornographic images and videos, including highly disturbing pedophilia type of images and videos when I close my eyes.
Pedophilia type of images when I close my eyes. Maybe these people are different. You understand? They've tried to create a facade of this woke, progressive group of feminists and activists. And if you knew who put me in this program, you understand this is just a facade. But this is the things they do. Like they somehow think that they're just analyzing what's happening to you. No, they're literally conditioning you to accept this new persona of pedophilia. But there's more to this. As I've talked about, I've talked about it too much. So I just rather let um, um just testimonies speak for themselves.
Made to smell various things, including smoke, burning, dirty diaper, or baby powder, which they sometimes combine with the pedophilia type of torture, including the threat of planted dreams.
Including the pedophilia type of torture. Do you know what they're saying right now to counter that? They will sue you. Okay. Before that, let me continue to make my testimonies. The pedophilia type of torture. They are. They've been doing this in their world, in their way I should look at it. It's like, oh no, they are. This is, it's you. But do they do this kid? Do they torture children? No, they protect them like this.
They would make the kids act out the kinds of torture that would later be done on me. For example, they would also sometimes make her bite her hand, threatening to make me bite my thumb. And she was the most significantly affected of all of my clients. I eventually and bodies of anyone around me, anywhere in the world, which I have repeatedly witnessed. For example, they make people around me burp, hiccup, and sneeze repeatedly, especially the sneezing, because the V2K says it's like an orgasm, so they make people around me sneeze excessively to threaten more sexual assaults. I am currently a speech language pathologist working in private practice with young children. I had a 7-year-old client who has autism, and she was the most significantly affected of all of my clients. I eventually had to tell this client to go to another clinic, and they used her to threaten the most torture in me as well as their most extreme forms of torture. For several months, she would cry and scream horribly during our therapy sessions despite having a great day at school. This was highly unusual behavior for her, as she usually behaved very well during her therapy sessions and had been making incredible progress on all of her therapy goals. This was used to threaten extreme torture on me, making me scream and cry, etc. They would make the kids act out the kinds of torture that would later be done on me. For example, they would also sometimes make her bite her hand, threatening to make me bite my hands, as they often do. One day, she had a large, severe bite mark on her arm. She has also grabbed her crotch, saying, "Ow," and this was used to threaten me with severe sexual torture. One day, I also observed her gasping for air a few times in the same way that I do when I am being more severely suffocated. The suffocation had been in a mild state for a while up until this point. Many of their torture methods are cyclical in severity. Right after I saw this child being suffocated, then I began to experience very extreme suffocation all day, every day, for about 2 months straight, and that's also when they made it worse when I eat. Then I also work with a 4-year-old little girl with Down syndrome, as well as her 5-year-old sister who also has Down syndrome. I observed both of these girls suddenly grabbing their genitals in pain and verbalizing, "Ow." I observed this.
To counter what I was listening to, somebody said act out, meaning that they aren't actually being tortured, they're just acting out the torture. So they're acting out to be gasping, but they're not actually gasping for air. They're acting out the sexual response, the sexual torture responses of those responses from sexual torture, but it was just acting. They're disgusting, right? But there is. In my mind, they try to find ways to counter with the disturbingness they've done to me. But it's not only that they torture um, children in a sexual matter, but they do have this tendency of torturing people in the pedophilia ways.
So much. I make it so dramatic. It is dramatic. It's somebody trying to end my life. It's somebody trying to end who I am as a person. It's somebody trying to take over my mind, putting thoughts of pedophilia. Like, this disgusting, disgusting, disgusting things. You saw where I was going with that first word. Disgusting things that I don't even want to talk about because it makes me sick. I don't even like those words in my mind. But it is what it is. So I have no choice now but to acknowledge that there are people in my surroundings or whatever they're doing. I don't know how they do it. I don't care. I don't know if it's through weapons. I don't know. I don't care.
I've we've listened to this testimony many times, and I'm going continuously. This is somebody that I've never met. This person says that they've been trying to change this person, forcing her to have disturbing pedophilia thoughts, and she knows there's people she doesn't there's people around her somehow doing things to her. I don't know if she's via weapons. She's not sure, but they're forcing her to have these disturbing thoughts, and she knows it's not hers. You understand? So there is this systematic ways of trying to break somebody down into accepting these false, disturbing thoughts, which are pedophilia centric. This is what they do, but it doesn't end here. And I made a list to make sure that I don't skip any of that. I just wanted to be organized. And as I was reading my list, torture kids sexually, They try to do something weird, make me feel uncomfortable. But now I've talked about sexual arousal controlled by them. They have ability to control your libido. The same people that you keep hearing with the pedophile type of torture have control of your sexual arousal, and they want you to accept that this pedophile things is organically happening. This
Relate the target. It can make the target feel sexual arousal, or it can sort of turn off the target's sexuality altogether. It can also be used to manipulate the hormones of the target, thus lowering and raising estrogen and testosterone levels in women and men, respectively.
so these people obviously can manipulate your sexual arousal. How are they gonna do it? Yes, it's gonna be pedophile centric. Now, um, if these people are solving, obviously this is an entity that is governmental related, agency related. We're talking about technology that is extremely sophisticated. Sometimes it's funny when they tell us that they tell me like, "Oh, it's our army." I'm thinking your army because I don't know if there's gonna be a lot of people. I'm like, do you understand this technology is so much more sophisticated than the amount of people? This technology can do so much to so many people at the same time. You talk about army that we're beyond like they it's but the way they have to dumb themselves down is ridiculous. Now, um, BuzzFeed. I've talked about it a lot. Let's just remember what is going on in those intelligence community who are in charge of this program. That mean they're the one like really organizing this. We know this is under the DoD. This kind of financing, this kind uh, of personnel, amount of personnel, this kind of resources, it just comes from obviously this intelligence community from the DoD. This technology is DoD level. These people are, just, if you see them, you're like, oh, please. Obviously, they're being organized by an entity that is very resourceful, very wealthy, very what like the DoD with technology that is and the organization, the technique, the tech, all that is so super systematic. You know, like a random just teacher and her. This is not like a teacher group. No, where they hire contract civilians to do these things of all sorts. So listen to this. What's going on in those agencies?
Agencies that handle sensitive information. In a November 2009 report, the Department of Defense acknowledged that dozens of Pentagon staff members or contractors had such images. In 2014, the Inspector General of the Intelligence Community found that two officials from the National Reconnaissance Office, which oversees America's spy satellites, acknowledged viewing images of child sexual abuse during polygraph examinations. This is so disturbing. At a symposium in 2016, Daniel Payne, a top Pentagon security official, said that when workers' computers were examined, the amount of child porn I see is just unbelievable. Is this something that is happening for whatever reason with more frequency in our intelligence agencies, or is this something that is more pervasive in the general population than I originally realized? I mean, what's going on here? This is bizarre. Remember, it's so evil. Ali, we're told, and when I was put through recruitment into the intel community, you're put through polygraphs, you're put through a rigorous selection process. Why aren't these people weeded out? Why are so many pedophiles allowed to be given top level security clearance? Remember, these aren't just people walking in off the street and saying, hey, can I get hired? Can I get a job? You're put through an extremely rigorous background check screening process. It's called an SSBI, single scope background investigation. There are people, they interview you, they interview your family, they interview your contacts, they go through your online footprint, they go through everything. So why is it that when they're going through these footprints, they're not checking these digital footprints. They're not checking for so many pedophiles getting through their ranks. If it were up to me, you need to go into Congress, and Congress needs to launch a brand new church committee, number one, to talk about domestic surveillance operations, but number two, to ask the question, why are there so many pedophiles sitting behind those computer screens within the walls of Langley, within the Pentagon, and throughout the broader intelligence community?
You know what they say to counter this? Oh no, you are a pedo. You understand? These people live a delusional world and they're supposed to agitate me, but reality will not escape here. I will bring back reality. I said, like, they like to play this game where they try to counter reality, and they're like, oh, we're so dumb. No, you are so dumbing yourself down. You're so making yourself as illogical to try to make yourself live this fantasy you've created. But I'm not gonna let you do that. So as this happens, right? Um, I know who put me in this program. I know why I'm in this program. The people who put me in this program sponsored this man.
The Christ back in Christmas. Wow. And wow. Wow. The sleigh bells jingling, tingling, too. It wasn't just the mall, folks. One Alabama journalist claims that Moore was also banned from the YMCA for his inappropriate behavior as soliciting sex from young girls. And don't forget, he did that while he was assistant DA. The assistant DA.
So, you know what they like to respond to this? Oh, I did it. As if they're responsible for this man. No. This man is a man that the employer who put me in this program helped for his campaign after those allegations. They are refusing to say his name, which I'm not going to say here. But like, oh, you're a robber. I'm like, hey, what's this person's name? They don't say it clearly. And I'm like, you see how life is? This is the people who put me in this program help this man after this allegation is public. It's openly seen. They're trying to bring out, okay, what can they actually show that is validate them? I made a video that in 2014, I was 27 years old. I followed somebody on Snapchat. She looked like an adult. I thought she was an adult, but she wasn't. She was about to graduate high school. I thought she was actually in college. Found that out in 2020. Went through, and they're like, "You see, that's proof." Let me give you an idea, and this is gonna be a distorted picture of her. I'm not gonna put her picture, uh, in this like this, but let's just say something looking like somebody like that, right? Now, she looked like this. Me as a 27-year-old, just turned 27, look at her thinking she's in her 20s. Follow her. Now, what they're trying to do, because she obviously looks like some people look older than her age. This is one of the cases that look like she's older than her age. I follow her, not knowing. Now, looking back, they're trying to create things like, wow, you should, because it's clear that I didn't know. I was like literally going back to, okay, I didn't know. And I follow her, never interacted with her, never talked to her, never even, they never had a single, I just became somebody who just watched her stories. She had great stories. She's traveled the world. She does, and, and that's that. Now, what they're trying to do is like, oh, but you should have known if you've seen this and that. They try to retrace back and try to, like, things the hints I should have seen, right? Which I didn't see, right? I didn't put together. But now, what the worst is now they try to create memories that aren't there. They try to make me, well, did you see a prom or something like that? It's like, I don't recall seeing any of that. Maybe I saw a party where she was somewhere where she was a party, but I didn't know that was no, there's none of the indications. Now I saw a graduation. I thought she was graduating college. You know what I'm saying? Like they try to make it seem like just try. Like how would have you known? Like just and the truth is there's none of that. So obviously I clearly didn't know who it is. But on top of that is somebody who looks like she was an adult. This is just a blur. I don't want to show her actual picture. But she looked like an adult when she wasn't an adult. And me as a 27-year-old looked at her as like, oh, she's probably in her 20s. She's graduating. Like I was so shocked to find out she wasn't because the way she appeared, which is in some cases, some people look older than the age. I followed her, thinking she was an adult because she looked like she was in her 20s when she wasn't. Never even had a single interaction in my life with this person. Never. But she has some of the best Snapchat stories because she traveled the world. She does like she had an exciting life, so it became like a fun thing to where is she going, what country is she going to, where she like it became so. They're trying to find things to make me accept this persona, but now they don't even find things; they create things. Oh, you see that person, and you understand at a certain age, like 24-year-old, 23, like in my mind as a 30 plus some year old man, you can make me think. I literally have to look at it, what a 24-year-old looks like because they can try to make me imagine she's underage because there's nothing real. So now it's like, who can we make him believe to be an underage? Oh, this person in Canada. Oh, this person in China. Literally try to create something that is not true in order to paint me in something I'm not. There's reality and there's things that they put together. And I gotta say something. I talked about how they really push people to be almost on the retardation side of things. And I don't mean to be just rude to say that. Just I'm not saying that to be rude, but they do this. But let's continue. Somebody else, they do these things where they force you to have these stimulations toward kids systematically.
That I've taken, and all you are going to hear is aggravation for every single second of my privacy that you have taken away from me and my family. Then said this: the slaves began a program of perversion. First was with my dog. I am very playful with my pet, and suddenly one day that I was petting him I felt strange, in the sense of the word. I thought, this is strange, and then afterwards that strange sensation continued. Then in that moment I realized that was impost, so I thought, look at this losers, don't know how to put me down, and they are doing this. So I told them that I know what you are trying to do, and I started laughing. And then I said again out loud, you'll never take my will, ass. So just to show them that I meant what I said, I kept playing with my dog, and even though that attacks continue, I don't let them get me. Today they continue with the programming of perversion, but this time they are aiming in the use of people, better said young people, also children and homosexuals. When I aggravated them I usually called demeaning names, and one of them is referring to homosexuals. For me all of the slaves are misfits, society haters, scumbags, etc. No, I don't have anything personal against them, homosexuals, but as my way to aggravate the slaves, and since they love to use children for the torture and stalking, street theater etc. Especially teenagers for the stalking at close range with an attitude, they are using them during my sleep in the perversion program, and so you can imagine what the slaves of torture are pretending to do to me. In the last days, as today September 9th, '07, anything I do, either watching TV or reading of whatever I'm doing, they brush me sort of say, I feel like I'm aroused all day, and I feel the
They do this disturbing program perversion. Now, anybody who looks like a kid, they do these disturbing things, disturbing stimulations. It's disgusting. Like there was this kid, you know, it was on YouTube, right? And they're stimulating me right now all the way, and they've tried to force me to look at this kid all the way on the my left, right. They are trying to make me look at her in a sexual way. Initially they tried to force me. It's like it wasn't even like, are you even interested in this person? It's like, how old is she? And I was like, she looked like a young, maybe like, like a teenager, like teen, like, late teen, something like that. I was like, oh, what? Like, give me the exact age. I was like, Jesus. They're so desperate to get you to accept these things. And now they like try to force me to look at her in this sexual way. This person will do nothing to me sexually. Can you imagine being forced to have been a sexual stimulation to kids? Like children. But is nothing sexual about her. She's a kid, she's a teenager, she's not even trying. They try to make me, my brain try to look at her and create a perception of sexuality toward these kids. Try to make me look at this, like try to create something like it's just disgusting. But that's the program perversion they're talking about. Literally stimulate you sometimes. It's nasty. And so it's just nonstop. And then on top of that, they have the ability, they have the ability to literally go into your memories and implant. That I've taken, and all you are going to here is aggravation. For thoughts and images are able to impose any information on the brain of a person, presumably by some kind of waves, which in the mind take the form of voices, thoughts and images and imagination. In addition to this kind of implanting information that they need, they manipulate the psyche so that the information is written into your memory. Then by stimulating the certain regions in the brain they can retrieve this information and present it as your own memory. This is the conclusion that can be made judging by the influence they have been making on me with their psychotronic weapons, for example artificial thoughts, imagination, and mental torture. This is non-stop and it's very pedophilia-centric. Your memories, they implant things that weren't there just to try to create and call it, we paired it, we matched it. These people are disgusting. They override your consciousness, your thoughts, and try to make you believe that's no, that's those are your thoughts. Continuously input directly into a human brain from remote locations, including the ability to override, control and alter consciousness, and to introduce voices, noises, other disturbances, images, and dreams into the brain. This is just systematically done. And I said something, I keep using the R word. They do make you think in an idiotic way. Listen to this. This pushes me towards acute depression, mental retardation, and insanity. It's literally making you think in this most idiotic ways. And that's because you have perps around you that are supposed to make you think in this stupidity level that is unbelievable. They use these childlike people with no shame, these grown people with no shame that will dumb themselves down just to make themselves believe something else. So these things they do to me, there are patterns of what they've done to me, done to others. They're not here investigating, they're here manipulating me and trying to change me to something else. Do not subscribe to these things. This is what they do. It's non-stop. 2 seconds ago, let me see if I have this picture of these kids. I hope these little kids. They start stimulating me, giving me disgusting stimulations. These little kids. And I'm supposed to be like, it's me. I know it's them. They're like, no, it's you when you were a kid. It's pure stimulations. They're just doing some stimulation. Like, you know how many times I've seen these things being normal? And all of a sudden now they're just like, oh. I was like, it's yes, this because they do this pedophilia type of torture. They force you to react in certain ways to torment you. So to all my target individuals, stay strong. Do not subscribe to this nastiness. There is plenty to be validated in regard of what they do. They're gonna force you to have this disturbing manipulation. They're gonna force you to think in this way. They're gonna try to get you to torture you mentally, psychologically, but trying to get you to. There's so much they can do, and now my job is, as until I can't, is to express what they've done to me because I know they're gonna do a lot. To the point, even force speech to frustrate you to get you to start like thinking that it's just even to think about how you. It's just nonstop. So be strong and understand that justice will be done. But do not subscribe to this nonsensical. The whole ecosystem is going to be around you to make you believe these things that you know is false. It's gaslighting on another level. So stay strong. And you know, I heard one person say, "Oh, it's so sad. It's sad that I have to go through this, but it would be sad if I had to live my life having to sell my soul to pedophiles." To try to get somebody to subscribe to these nonsensical, disgusting things that they force them to experience. So stay strong and know that justice will be done. Thank you.